Yeah, and investment. Our daily work directly contributes to improving the economic and social status of the communities we serve. A lot of these families give back to the community. I'll give you an example of a wonderful, successful family, Syrian brothers, that came in 2016. They now opened a successful tiling business in Milwaukee and have many contracts, and have purchased homes. And that really shows you, with hard work and determination, they became very successful. And they actually come back and volunteer with us and help new families that arrive to help them integrate into the community. And impact. Our clients have built businesses, created jobs, and are active contributors to our economy and communities. This is a list of our staff today. A lot of them are refugees, immigrants, and also volunteers that were with us since 2016. Andrea Vodica, who's our community engagement manager, she actually, we met her during a Syrian family that was placed in a condemned home in the city of Milwaukee, and the police came out. And her husband was that police officer. And today she's been with Hanan since the beginning. We believe strongly that everyone deserves, dignity. And so to see a family that was placed in a condemned home, it was boarded up, and this agency that brought them had put them in this home. It was heartbreaking. At Hanan, we speak 15 languages. We resettle refugees from all parts of the world. We resettle refugees from the Congo to Afghanistan, to Ukraine, to Burma, Venezuela, Nicaragua. For those that don't know what a resettlement agency is, we are approved by the State Department to be able to resettle refugees. Refugees go through an intensive process back in the country that they're living in. They have to go through intensive background checks, and they could take anywhere from 5 to 15 years to come to the U.S. This program right now is being revamped, so it is a 90-day program where once they are received, we are legally responsible for them for up to 90 days, and that's really the intensive part. So we welcome them in the airport, we have to find them housing, we help enroll their kids in school, find jobs, set up their homes, and also provide cultural orientation. Obviously, 90 days is not enough time. After those 90 days, there's a program through the state that assists refugees to help some, if they have, medical complex cases or just need a little bit more time and to adapt to the culture. This program right now, unfortunately, is being restructured through the State Department. And so right now there's a lot of uncertainty, not sure what's going to happen. There is talk that this program will be at a national level. Historically, it's national nonprofits that usually are the national resettlement agencies. For example, HIAS, Catholic Charities, Lutheran Social Services, International Rescue Committee. These are national resettlement agencies that has historically are the national resettlement agencies, and then they then they'll go down to the local levels. They have affiliates that they work with. However, this new model that the State Department is looking at is they want to get rid of the national resettlement agencies and go directly to the states. So for those states that might not want refugees, it really depends on their governor if they would like to take refugees. So this is right now being restructured, and we do know fiscal year 26 there will be 40,000 refugees, and the populations right now they have mentioned is Afrikaners, Ukrainians, Afghans, and 10% undefined populations. Unfortunately, it's a challenging time because we're asking many employers to speak up. There's employers historically have relied on refugees and immigrants to come to this country for jobs that ordinary Americans won't take. And so this is something that we are working on a national level with employers to talk about this particular program. So these are some of the programs that we do at Hanan. Obviously the Refugee Resettlement. We also do, let me go back here. So we do a lot, and we have prioritized a few programs for the next coming couple of years. Employment, this administration has said employment, we have to prioritize refugees that are coming through this program have to get jobs. It's challenging when you come to a new country and you don't know the language, and expecting someone to get a job within 90 days is very challenging. So I can tell you it's happened. We have had people employed after 90 days, sometimes 4 months, sometimes 6 months. So it can be challenging. The challenging part that we're facing next year is we highlighted our focus areas, and one of them, we've never really had focused on food. We do have a food pantry in partnership with Hunger Task Force that provides culturally specific food boxes to refugees and immigrants, and really anyone in need in the community. And next year with this new big beautiful bill, if you are a refugee, you will not qualify for SNAP benefits. And so it's going to be very challenging. In Wisconsin right now, there is a law for women and children. We don't know what specifically that entails, but we are anticipating some definitely major issues with this particular program, and we've been in talks with Salvation Army. We've spoken to Hunger Task Force, and our state is also looking into seeing what can we do. We have really hardworking refugees that work full-time jobs, and they're not making ends meet, and so and they receive SNAP benefits. So we are very concerned, especially with inflation and things like that. We're very concerned about this. Our educational programs, we do have ESL through the state. We're funded through the state and some private foundations. We're proud to say at Hanan, we started an ESL program 3 years ago during the Afghan crisis for Afghan women. And this program has been very successful. We actually provide the transportation for the women. And in those 3 years, these women that came in, they were illiterate in their own language. And today, I can tell you many of them are either driving, they can read and write English, they know their home addresses, and this was for us, for me particular, refugees and immigrants, sometimes when they come to this country, women sometimes get left behind, and so we focused on Afghans because of the Afghan crisis. However, we are revamping this particular ESL class for women to include Rohingya women. Rohingya refugees, Wisconsin has the largest in the U.S. We also provide ESL at home classes. This was started early last year for women or men sometimes that have small kids. And this is actually, we do have a curriculum. It's ran by our ESL coordinator. And this program is actually, we have many volunteers that actually teach ESL at home. They follow our curriculum and they check in with our ESL coordinator. And it's been very successful. We are really pushing ESL right now, especially with this administration, explaining to families that you have to learn English. I think it's a challenge, especially in today's society with social media, where you really don't have to learn English because you can just use Google Translate. And so we're really pushing for families to learn English. And we actually just are starting a new ESL at Work program. We are piloting a new program with Cargill, who employs a good amount of refugees, and they have shown interest for many of their refugees that might be able to really go to that next level of becoming a supervisor. However, their vocabulary and their English skills aren't really at that next level. So we have partnered with them, and we'll be starting classes in a few weeks. Our ESL coordinator will start teaching classes on site at Cargill. Our legal program, so this is new for us, and I'm happy to say this program was developed by a volunteer. Barrett McCormick, who's a former professor at Marquette University, was a longtime volunteer, and I actually approached him and said, hey, we are looking to do this program. The state wanted every resettlement agency to become an accredited rep organization. And basically what that is we can do most of the legal work. However, we can't really represent clients in court. We're still partially accredited. However, we do work in close partnership with lawyers. So basically that means we can do green card adjustments. We can do employment authorizations through a fee-to-service program at Hanan. We started this, he became accredited last year, and we started the program in January. We have a system that we use. It's been definitely a roller coaster the last 7 months with this program because many different things are changing. However, we are now working on 2 more people to become accredited through this program. And I think we have served close to, in this particular program, we have served about 100 individuals so far, just from the start of January. So these are the populations that we're currently seeing in our office, and they come from all different backgrounds. Anyone's welcome to come into Hanan. I think at this point, we welcome all vulnerable populations. This is just some of our achievements that we've done. We have been recognized by partners such as IRC and Islamic Relief, and we've successfully resettled over 500 refugees in the last. However, we've served thousands of refugees in our programs. And I'm proud to say that we just received a new partnership with Milwaukee County to serve older refugees that are over 60 in the Milwaukee County area. And this is really to help support with case management and transportation and other areas where older refugees, linking them up to resources that they might not know about. The Dr. Ahmed Nassif program, this scholarship is a very successful scholarship that we've actually awarded over 25 scholarships in the Milwaukee area working closely with Milwaukee Public Schools and surrounding schools. We've actually been able to award refugees and immigrants scholarships to be able to get them, to be able for them to really get to that next level, encourage them to attend trade schools or continue their education after high school. And these are just some of our partners. Some of them are national, but also local partners. We do receive funding for our local work here in Wisconsin from some national partners as well. So this is just a couple of pictures. On the left here, we have so many programs. I know I didn't go through all of them, but the youth program, we have a youth program that is funded through the state to really help refugee youth when they first come in. And Miriam Durrani, who is our cultural programs manager, leads this program. Right now, I think the populations that are in this youth program are Afghan and Rohingya. And she does a lot of field trips to get them adjusted, to get them to integrate into the culture. And we work with several partners on this youth program. Sea Literacy is one partner that we work with. And on the right, we have a picture from 2022 that show the recipients of the Dr. Nassif Scholarship. Dr. Nassif was actually a local doctor here from Syria, and he was part of our committee, and he actually, the most humble person that I have ever met. He really, during the Syrian crisis, just did so much and was the most humble person. He would co-sign homes for Syrians, and I don't think too many people would co-sign a home but he, I remember one time, he used to own, purchased a restaurant for a Syrian family. If anybody has heard of Damascus Gate, it unfortunately did shut down, but he started Damascus Gate, which was a restaurant here in Milwaukee. And I remember one time he actually took off his shoes to give it to a homeless person walking down the street. So he really inspired us when he passed away from cancer in 2021. We started this program for him. So I'm very happy to say that we have given over 25 scholarships in his name. So how can you help? Obviously, financial donations are always appreciated. There are some volunteers that are really interested in learning about our scholarship program. And we have partnerships like with Network Health, who've done drives such as cleaning supplies and hygiene products. We have a lot of partnerships such as Baby to Baby. Baby to Baby provides us diapers for families. So we actually have an off-site warehouse where we we get a lot of items, so we actually store that. And that's where we store our housing necessities and things like that when families come in. Hosting a drive helps families really that are struggling come pick up cleaning supplies, come pick up diapers. These things really help with families, especially now. You can, if you're on social media, you can share our socials, our posts that we post on there. You can follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, and volunteering. I like to say most of our volunteers are retired, and they really become part of our, they're like family. They become part of Hanan, and we work with many churches, many mosques, and many synagogues that come in and volunteer their time, and we get to know them. And we actually have volunteer appreciation lunch, usually twice a year, and at our annual gala, we recognize we pick 2 volunteers and we recognize them at our annual gala. And this is just one of our volunteers at a home setup that we were getting ready for a family. And these are just things that some of our volunteers do. We have all ages, but I can tell you our volunteers that really are our weekly volunteers are usually those that are retired. And the seasonal events that we do, we have a lot of seasonal events throughout the year, and these are just some of them. This is a great way if you want to volunteer one time just to get to know Hanan. This is a great way to volunteer is at one of our seasonal events that we have, which is 5 times a year. These are just a couple of the flyers. And we just had our back to school fair, and it was honestly the largest back to school fair we've ever seen. We had 1,700 kids show up, and we had over 70 volunteers for that event. It was we had 10 partners that showed up we had resource tables for families, but it really just showed the need that the community, people are really struggling right now. And we were happy to be able to support in some way. Our goal with Hanan isn't just handing out. We really want people to become self-sufficient. And I can probably name so many success stories of families that are volunteering with us that were former refugees. And we strongly believe these are families that are coming in from refugee camps that have lived in a refugee camp for probably all their lives. So to come to the U.S. and learn about the American bills, that can be a lot for families. They have a lot of anxiety, even educated. We have refugees that speak perfect English, that are educated, and need support to understand that, if you're late on your rent, you don't be late on your rent, don't be late on your utilities. I think it takes a lot, and we're able at Hanan to support them to get them to the point where they're actually contributing back to the economy. And I'm proud to say that we've seen hundreds of success stories. And this is how you can contact us. You can our email or our phone number, and that's it. And I want to, yes, so we do have flyers, how you can volunteer with us, and then also Amazon and Walmart and Target registry. And then also we have a little one-pager about our work that we do and how you can volunteer as well. Yes?
Are all the people you work with documented? And do you ever get anyone else undocumented, and what do you do?
Yeah, so...
Can you repeat the question for the people at home?
Okay, so are all the people that I'm serving documented? And I'm sorry, I didn't catch the net.
And if you get one that's undocumented, what do you do?
Yes, so majority, the Refugee Resettlement Program is a legal pathway to citizenship. Now, we have seen some undocumented families come through. There's not much that we can do, unfortunately, when it comes. We do provide some sort of relief if they need, items. We give them resources. We haven't really worked with a huge undocumented population in our office. The program that we work with is a legal pathway to citizenship. We do serve the best that we can. But we have seen some come in to our office, and unfortunately, there's not much that we can do in our office. We we have a lot of partners, so we work with partners that can help serve them. Yes.
I would think it'd be hardest to deal with the groups that I know fellow nationals here in Milwaukee, like Ukrainians are on the list, but there's a well-established Ukrainian community here in Milwaukee. So, I mean, are there some groups that we have a great deal of trouble placing?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that?
Are there groups that are harder to deal with than others?
Yeah, so we do, we have worked with Wisconsin Ukrainians. Ukrainian population is very well established, and the churches, we haven't seen a huge amount. Honestly, that's our lowest population. We don't really see the Ukrainians because they're very established. They have population. The challenge is refugees that are coming in from refugee camps that need the lack of education, and that particular population. We do work with a lot of different groups. There are Rohingya groups here in Milwaukee that we work with. We do a lot of educational classes. The Afghan population, for instance, they didn't have an Afghan community here in Milwaukee. So that population, we have done tons of educational classes with partners. They really didn't even have the language here in Milwaukee, so that was a big challenge to work with as well. Questions? Yes.
You have drop-off Fridays,
Yes.
and that's heavy driving these days. Would you come to the house to pick up items?
I would most likely yes. I can't speak for my volunteer coordinator, but I could definitely ask her. But we have done occasional pickups as well. Yeah. Yes.
Could you define refugee versus immigrant?
Yeah, so an immigrant comes, by choice. A refugee really doesn't have a choice when they flee their country. Immigrant might be coming on, when you come on a refugee status, it's a different type of status than coming in on an immigrant. Immigrant comes in on their own, but they are actually, as a refugee under the UNHCR, they are registered through the UNHCR as a refugee because they have fled persecution or there's violence in their country, and then they register through the UNHCR, which defines them as refugees. So, for example, the Rohingya population, which Wisconsin has the largest, they've lived in refugee camps. They've been born there. I mean, there are refugee camps in Bangladesh, Malaysia, all parts of the world. And so immigrants make a choice to come to the U.S. Other questions? Yes.
You said there were, I think, 40,000 refugees a year. Is that the number that's been?
No. No. So the last year, I believe the ceiling, so Congress makes the number of refugees. So last year it was actually at 100,000 refugees to come to the U.S. This year we were, the talk is it's going to be at 40,000. Now we're waiting to see what's going to happen with Congress in the next couple of weeks, who will set the ceiling of those numbers. But it has been said that it might be 40,000. And also Congress decides which populations they want to bring in. So, for example, Afrikaners, they really aren't through the UNHCR program. That was a decision made by the administration. And they haven't had the intensive background checks like normal refugees as well. Any other questions? Oh,
I don't think we've covered this already, but, are there other groups in Milwaukee that are doing a similar thing?
yeah, we're a resettlement agency. I would say that we do most of the intensive work. We have a lot of different programs, more of a wraparound. However, Lutheran Social Services is also a resettlement agency, and also International Institute of Wisconsin is a resettlement agency. There are only 3 in Milwaukee. However, in the state, there are 9 in the state. So there is in the Fox Valley area, there's a resettlement agency. HIAS, Jewish Social Services in Madison, has a resettlement agency. Let's see, Eclair, a couple others. I'm missing someone, but there's about 8 or 9 of them. Okay. Anyone else? Okay. Yes.
You said the numbers were at 100,000,
Mm-hmm.
and Congress may do 30 or 40,000? Does that mean that there are 60,000 potential undocumented who will be seeking to go somewhere?
Not to the U.S. They basically, it's not. These families are refugees, so they're through the UNHCR, and Congress every year sets the ceiling of how many refugees will come to the U.S. They'll set the ceiling of. It just means less people to the U.S. basically.
So they will be seeking, they'll either go into undocumented status here through
No, no.
or somewhere else, or they'll stay in their refugee.
Yeah, they'll most likely stay, and it's really unfortunate because there are people that have been waiting 10, 15 years, not just necessarily the U.S. Canada accepts refugees, Europe, so it's not just the U.S. that accepts refugees. However, the U.S. is the largest in the world that takes refugees, but they'll most likely stay in their refugee camps.
Do you have any numbers for what other countries have taken, like Germany and France?
I don't have those numbers.
We've taken the most.
I'm sorry?
The United States takes
We do. Yeah, we do take the most.
Thank you for your beautiful time.
Oh, thank you.
How long does it take to get citizenship? What's the average time?
Up to 5 years. So they qualify once they arrive. They qualify after 1 year to adjust their status for a green card, and then after a year, they have 5 years from then to apply for citizenship. We also work with what's called special immigrant visas. They're not necessarily labeled as a refugee. However, these are only 2 populations, Afghans and Iraqis, and they're labeled as special immigrant visas because they helped work with the U.S. government.
Do they then have to get citizenship within 5 years?
Not necessarily, no.
So they can stay in some kind of
Green card, yeah, if they might, adjust their status as green card, but they don't necessarily have to.
Do you have any idea what percentage do decide to become citizens?
I don't know that question. I would say majority would want, you know, because they're basically stateless, many of them. So I'm assuming that most of them would. But I don't know the exact percentage, yeah. Anyone else? Well, thank you. Thank you, everyone, for having me today. I appreciate it, and maybe I'll see some of you volunteering. Thank you.